So I always find myself listening to music and thinking about, oh my God, the person who is singing this song has absolutely struggled with, if not love addiction, something that sounds just like it, or love avoidance, or trauma in relationships. And I'm like, there is a lesson in this song. So I'm going to start a very informal series. I don't know how often I will post, but I'm going to start sharing songs that I feel like are preaching to us and talking to us and teaching us lessons about love and loss and moving forward. And so we're going to start with Ungodly Hour by Chloe and Halle. Okay, so starting at the top, they say, hit me with your eyes. I've never seen that kind of view. You walking over here, the way it went down, that's when I knew. We were talking all night, but I can tell you need to work on you, on you. And when I hear this part, I just think about how so many of us can, when we first meet someone, it's about that chemistry, right? It's about that, like, we're locking eyes, we can talk to them all night. And in those conversations, when we first meet someone, people always tell on themselves. The red flags are always red flagging. The things that are unresolved are always clear. But it can be so easy to like romanticize it and be like, well, because he, she, or them, because they're talking about it like so openly or so eloquently, or we're like really vibing right now, it's just something I'll keep in mind. But like, I don't really need to, like, it's not a reason to stop talking. I'll just keep my eyes open. But like, y'all, when you meet someone and you can tell that there's something that is unresolved, and that no matter how much they can wax poetic about it, just remember there's a phrase that I really love that one of my professors used to say. I got my master's degree in marriage and family therapy. So one of my professors, who was also a couples therapist, he used to say, if you meet someone with big ears, over time their ears are only going to get bigger. So like, the stuff that we see is not stuff that's going to like magically go away, or that you're going to learn to live with. Like, if it's an itch, or if it's a scratch, if it's something that's wrong now, it's going to be wrong later on. And then Good Sis says, you be playing sweet, but baby, don't you know that talk is cheap? Talk is cheap. Can't fool me. I wish that you could back it up for me. Y'all, how many of us, again, like, we're in the emotions, we're in the feelings, we're in like the connection, we're vibing, right? And they're really good at telling us what's going to happen, what they want to do for us. And, if things were right, what would be happening, and they just got to get stuff straight, or be patient, or it's hard for me, and all that stuff. And you're like, okay, talk is cheap. And here's the thing. We think that by telling them talk is cheap, that's us having boundaries, and that's us like standing up for ourselves. But that's not showing up for ourselves. That's not standing up for ourselves. Standing in our worth looks like leaving that person who is not treating us in the way that we need to be treated. So if I'm dating someone, or if I'm in a relationship with someone, and I'm like, hey, I really need this, or I really need you to not do that. Like, that's hurtful. It makes me feel bad. And they're like, okay, I got you. And then you're like, okay, but really, I can't deal with that. Like, the talk is cheap. And they're like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do better. But you keep staying there and letting them harm you, right? Then the onus needs to be on us, right? We're holding them accountable for not showing up in the ways that we need, but really it's our responsibility to separate from places and situations that put us in emotional danger, that put us in places that make us feel uncomfortable, right? And people are always showing us what they're capable of. So sometimes it's not even about that they're doing it maliciously, which is what I think also gets us to stay sometimes, but that they can't do it. They can't do it, they don't know how to do it, or they don't want to do it. And in the grand scheme of things, all three have the same outcome, right? The relationship will still continue to get fractured. You will still feel hurt, neglected. You will still not be treated in the way that you need to. So talk is cheap, right? You want to make sure that someone is actually doing actions. And if they're not doing actions, that there are actual consequences to that, versus you also doing the talk is cheap thing and giving, false ultimatums, or, trying to pressure them to be or do something that they're not. And then let's grill this baby up. She says, you know that I heard it all before. You're hesitant, but you could give more. I know you like to play the silly games. When you're done, call my name. You know what? Hold on. Let me read the whole thing. And then the verse goes, or the chorus goes, when you decide you like yourself, holler at me. When you decide you need someone, call up on me. When you don't have to think about it, love me at the ungodly hour. When you decide you like yourself, holler at me. When you decide you need someone, call up on me. When you don't have to think about it, love me at the ungodly hour. What this brings up for me is I think sometimes when you meet someone who's so good or so close to what you want, you really want to give them the chance, right? You don't want to be judgmental. You don't want to ruin something that feels really good. And so, like, I know you're hesitant, but you can give me more. Like, I hear so much kindness in that. And it just makes me think about, like, sometimes we can deliver the things that we want and say it like in the most loving way and say, I know that this is hard for you, but this is really what I need. And going back to what I said before, there are going to be some people who maybe have not been challenged in that way, but you are what they want. You are what they need. There is a place that they need to grow. They didn't even know that it was a gap area, right? Because they're growing as a human being too. And there are going to be some people where all that is true, but they're still not going to change, right? And because of what I said before, they don't know how to change. They don't want to change. And the outcome is still the same. So this part right here that says when you decide to like yourself, when you decide you need someone, call me. A lot of times people will sabotage relationships and push you away because of their own insecurity and self-esteem, because they've gone through things, because they have this unresolved trauma. And we can set ourselves up by trying to be overly empathic with someone and use our love, use our body, use our time and energy as a rehab for people versus knowing that they need to do the work on their own. It doesn't matter how good you are, how much love you give, how kind and compassionate you are. That person had those demons and had that trauma before they even met you, right? And so it is about you not trying to save people. And the most loving thing that you can do is see someone exactly for where they are and exactly what they're able to give and decide, is this something that I can love and I can receive? And for those of us who are used to taking care of people, you need to do a step up because you're so used to living in neglect for your needs. You're so used to going without. You're so used to being the one that taking care of everyone, but never having people who take care of you. So if that's you, if you're the codependent, if you're the people pleaser, if you're the one who always puts yourself last, so when you see someone who is broken or who's going through some things and doesn't love themselves and like needs to be rehabilitated, and someone says, is this someone that you can love through all this? You need to include you into that. So yeah, you can take care of them, but can they take care of you, right? To realize that what's important to you, your emotional desires, your mental safety, your sexual safety, all of that is just as important as the needs of the other person. So to get out of this pattern of being a martyr, of being sacrificial, of losing yourself, and getting out of that childhood trauma that has taught us that we're just tools, right? That has taught us that we're just instruments to be used for the needs of somebody else, right? Like your love, your body, what you need is just as important. And you can still be clear with what those boundaries are, with what you need, and leave the door open. So when you decide you like yourself, when you decide that you need somebody, when you don't have to think about it, call me. Love me. I'm available. Give me something to say yes to. Remember, boundaries are not about saying no. They're about, this is what I need to say yes. So can you show up, taking care and taking ownership of yourself, learning how to give yourself what you need so that you have some to give to me? Because when we're together, I'm going to give you all of me, right? So can you show up with the same energy? So that was our sermon from the girls with Ungodly Hour. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if the song ever stood out to you, if it ever spoke to your story. And let me know if you want to hear me do this with another song. I'd love to hear your suggestions. Bye.